Today the Cornwall Channel have sent me up country to the City of London, where there is an exhibition of Cornish art. It is not just the art, but also the iconic building that has rich links to Cornwall. With the Moray Minor on a metre, this could be an expensive day out, but no expense has been spared with the building we are about to see. 2 Temple Place is a wonderful 19th century building originally designed as a lavish office building for William Wardorf Astor, a hugely wealthy American from the Astor family dynasty.
William Astor was at the time arguably one of the richest, possibly the richest man in the world, and he decided that no expense should be spared on his office space. So, as you can imagine, it's pretty beautiful.
John Loughborough Pearson was commissioned to design 2 Temple Place in 1892. Pearson, known for his Gothic revival churches, also designed Truro Cathedral. The building is operated by the Bulldog Trust, a charitable organisation who hire it out for various functions, and it is now open to the public as a gallery. If one talks about art in Cornwall, the names Alfred Wallace, the naive artist, and the modernists Barbara Hepworth and Ben Nicholson spring to mind. This exhibition, Amongst Heroes, brings together artists from 2 colonies in Newlyn and St Ives from an earlier time, dating between 1880 and 1920. And some of the works haven't been seen in public for over a century. Let's go and have a look. For curators of those designing shows at the ornate and highly decorated space at 2 Temple Place is a huge challenge that calls for imagination and ingenuity.
The shows that we put on are opportunities to give up-and-coming curators a chance to have a solo show, or possibly with our next one, we're not going to have one particular curator, we're going to be working with a range of young curators.
The curator of Amongst Heroes is Rue Gunsey.
You know, it is wholly her own work, but she had, we hope, a really exciting and valuable experience.
Rue has certainly risen to the challenge. She has drawn on works from the collections of the Royal Cornwall Museum, who is partner of this project, and many other lenders in Cornwall and elsewhere to create a fresh look at an underappreciated period of art history.
We really hope that every exhibition we have not just gives the public a chance to see the interior of this lovely building, but also is a way of us working with museums and galleries around the country to share ideas and experience and help, you know, give them some chance to raise their national profile.
In the late Victorian and early Edwardian time, Cornwall was still very much an undiscovered part of Britain, untouched by industry and not romanticised by the likes of Daphne du Maurier as a place to holiday. Artists felt they should paint in the open air, pure naturalists. Notable artists of the period were Stanhope Forbes and the famous Henry Scott Tuke's portraits of young seafarers. The artists seem more interested in the maritime craft and objects and paraphernalia concerning boats, harbours, blacksmiths, and even clay pits and quarrying that gave rich subject matter. In this exhibition, there are many objects of the period that brings to life Cornwall of the late 19th century, social and historical feel. This winding frame reminds me of the hand-lining fish frame that the harbour master, Morley Billings, made for me when I was a child in the Roseland fishing village of Port Scatho.
When we were discussing exhibition proposals and she was talking about this was one of the things we were most excited about, because it makes the show that bit different. And from our perspective, we have a huge education outreach programme which we also share with and we hope that all of the resources that we produce will then go on to be used by our lender institutions. So, for example, the Royal Cornwall Museum.
Most of the artists of this period were trying to paint images of naturalism, and you can see in this painting it's of an oyster dredger, and there we have a windlass, and the oyster dredger itself. And here we actually have an oyster dredger boat and the windlass. What is so fantastic about this exhibition is that you get both the actual painting and the objects. There's something rather wonderful that images of this moment in Cornwall of such poverty now sit in such opulent surroundings of the same period. One of the most magnificent parts of this building is the full-height, top-lit stairwell, with oak panelling and mahogany staircase. Also solid ebony columns for the first floor arcade. The floor is inlaid with marble, jasper, porphyry and onyx, laid in geometrical patterns. The large figures that crown the newel posts on the staircase are by Thomas Nicholls. They represent characters from the Three Musketeers. The frieze below the glass ceiling depicts 82 Shakespearean characters, under which there are several portraits by Henry Tuke. The curator says the exhibition's artwork isn't sentimental or ideologically loaded painting. Their aim is to show not tragic victims of poverty and oppression, but the plain facts of honest toil. However, the eminent art critic Brian Sewell says there is scant evidence that the painters of Newlyn and St Ives ever felt any social or political sympathy for their subjects, though Henry Tuke's paintings of local adolescent boys seem often to express emotional longing. And now we arrive into the great room, Astor's office, and where he held court. Entering this room, you are struck by the sense of attention to detail that runs throughout the building. In here it is more than anywhere else. The walls, carved doors, elegant roof structure, and the giant stained glass windows. The east-facing one depicts the sunrise, the west the sunset. It leaves one with a lingering feeling of power and wealth, and it is certainly what I would have thought Astor would have wanted. The Great Hall, I mean, what an office.
Yeah, I mean, he had a desk in the middle of the Great Hall, and he could sit either facing the river with the view over through his 5 beautiful windows, mullioned windows, or he could sit facing the door. The room at the time was known as his mediation room, which is quite, I always think it's quite amusing, because you would just walk in there and say, take whatever you want, I don't mind. It's so intimidating with it's got a 35-foot ceiling and the Spanish mahogany hammer beam. You're not going to negotiate with somebody if they're sitting at a desk in the middle of that room.
Great Hall frieze, again carved by Nathaniel Hitch, show characters from literature and history. The door to the Great Hall, inset with silver gilt panels by George Frampton, depicts characters from King Arthur.
He was very, very keen to be accepted into the highest levels of British society when he came over here, and building this house and the castles that he bought were all part of his effort to secure his place in British society, and he gave huge amounts of money to charity, and finally, eventually, sadly only a year before he died, he got given a title and was made a Viscount.
Two Temple Place is certainly a building where one can get lost for hours and hours. So, back to the Moray Miner on the meter. Oh no, the meter!